Hello, dear students. How are you today? Welcome to your first Grade 10 English review at the International School of Innovation. Pay attention to hints that you might get in order to help you with your exams. The topics covered for Assessment 1 are on your review sheets and written as followed. Make sure to study the handouts with all detailed notes and revise the stories we've taken. The Age of Tiny Tech. Paul swallows the pills prescribed for his sleeping disorder. It is not medicine, but a tiny machine, and as it travels inside Paul's body, the device transmits a continuous temperature record to a receiver on his belt to help doctors monitor his bodily rhythms. At a nearby hospital, surgeons begin an operation by inserting into Harold's heart a blood pressure sensor so small that 3 of the tiny machines could fit on a pinhead. These devices, along with many others, all gaining wider use, are among the first fruits of a major scientific revolution. We are leaving the industrial age, when nations took pride in building the biggest machines possible, and entering the tiny tech, where power and prosperity will go to who makes machines smaller and smaller. A few years ago, researchers at the University of California took a giant step into the mini world. They switched on the voltage to an experimental device roughly 3/1000th of an inch across and through an electronic microscope watched the first microscopic electric motor start to spin. The motor was fabricated like a computer chip. By this method, a paper-thin silicone wafer 4 inches in diameter is encased in silicon dioxide and coated with a photoresist, a liquid plastic that breaks down into microscopic patterns when exposed to light. Next, etching chemicals then dissolve unprotected parts of the glass layer, carving circuits onto the silicone wafer. By repeating the same procedure, layer upon layer of interconnected circuits can be built onto the chip. Finally, by fashioning a silicone base, hub, and rotor, and using acid etch to dissolve the glass layer between them, a motor is created. Think what means, says George Hazelrig, research engineer at the National Science Foundation in Washington, D.C. Each wafer can contain up to 200 chips, and each chip can carry hundreds of micro machines. With this new technology, adds Richard Mueller, a director of the Sensor and Actuator Center at the University of California, Berkeley, can create on the same chip a computer brain and micro machine sensors and actuators to be in the eyes, ears, and the hands of the computer. Within a decade, Hazelrig predicts doctors could be using such devices with microscopic cutters and manipulators to perform what now major surgery does without cutting open a patient's body. Micro machines inhabit a world where the unit of measure is the micrometer, roughly 1/1,000,000th of a yard. The average human hair is 70 to 100 micrometers wide. In this Alice in Microland realm, the rules of the big world do not apply. Invisible specks of airborne dust can become giant monkey wrenches jamming unprotected gears and micromotors. Those who work in micro machine labs must put on surgical masks lest they inadvertently inhale the tiny devices from the work surfaces. In this coming decade, micro machines will be able to make your home smart, too. They will tell you, your hearing system, and air conditioners how to adjust themselves for efficiency and minimal pollution. Sensors will sound an alarm if a child falls into the swimming pool. In earthquake-prone areas, microsensors could detect the tremor and automatically disconnect and shut water, electricity, and gas lines to prevent water damage, electrocution, and fires. As an old saying goes, shape our tools, and therefore our tools shape us. It is already clear our tiny new tools will shape the way we live in astonishing manners. By thinking small, scientists and dreamers are enlarging the future for all of us. This is an article from Reader's Digest. Part 1, Reading Comprehension, Question 1. What is the basic difference between the industrial age and the tiny tech age? In this question, you must think of comparing and contrasting. You must think of the similarities in order to figure out the difference. The best way to do this is through a Venn diagram. After going through the text and filling out your Venn diagram, you can come to realization that the industrial age focused mainly on big machines for production and prosperity. In the tiny tech age, power and prosperity will go to those who make machines smaller and smaller. So you get the answer and the proof as well. Mention 3 places where the tiny tech will probably seem effective in the above text. In paragraph 3, the writer refers to industry. A motor is created, and I quote. In paragraph 4, he mentions the unbelievable influence of this tiny tech on medicine, surgery in particular. And finally, in paragraph 6, he states the positive effects of the micro machines on our houses. Question 9. In what ways will this tiny tech influence our lives? The writer believes that the tools we shape, which are the micro machines in this case, reshape us as well. In other words, the new tools will definitely influence our way of life and behavior. What does the writer mean by, in this Alice in Microland realm, the rules of the big world do not apply, invisible specks and micromotors, paragraph 5. This means that there will be no room for the gigantic objects. Tiny invisible specks will be most dominant and effective, as in Alice in Wonderland, the movie or the book. So this means there will be no room for the gigantic objects. As in Alice is Wonderland. Tiny invisible specks will be most dominant and effective. Now for context clues. You have to define the words in order to answer the question correctly. So what you have to do is reread sentences, look at the paragraphs carefully, examine each paragraph, analyze words, and try to determine and decide the words according to their prefixes and suffixes. So here we can infer that device means a machine or a mechanism. Adjust means to change. Enlarging means to make bigger. Astonishing means surprising. Questions part C. 1. What type of introduction does the writer of the above text use? What purpose does this type serve? Well, this is an anecdote or a real live example. So his introduction gave a real life example. What type of purpose does this type serve? This type gives background information about the new scientific revolution, arouses interest and curiosity in the reader, and grabs his or her attention. Finally, it prepares him or her for a thorough discussion on the positive influences of such a revolution on all aspects of life. Now, what pattern of organization does the writer use in paragraph 3? Paragraph 3 is a process writing type. In it, the writer gives steps needed to create a motor. So, the writer uses time, order, or sequence as a pattern of organization to arrange the steps. Other types of pattern and organization could be cause and effect, problem and solution, compare and contrast, and description. What two adjectives best describe the writer's tone in the concluding paragraph? Justify your choice. Well, in paragraph 1, the writer seems hopeful, supportive, and encouraging. So let's write that down. And some justification could be the new tools will shape the way we live in astonishing manners. So this is a key word here in order for us to reach these tone words here. And remember, tone indicates the writer's attitude, and it's described by adjectives such as those listed. And make sure not to mistaken tone and mood. Okay, tone is the writer's attitude. Mood is how the writer makes you feel.
He won the lottery and died the next day. It's a black fly in your Chardonnay. It's a death row pardon, 2 minutes too late. And isn't it ironic? Don't you think? It's like rain.
So irony can pretty much be defined as something you think should happen, but something opposite happens. Like having a rainy day instead of a nice sunny day on your wedding, or when you win the lottery, you would like to live in order to spend that money, but dying the next day. So this song is called "Isn't It Ironic?" and that's one of the best things to listen to when you're having some unsure feelings about what irony is. Now we have 3 types of irony we discussed in class: situational, dramatic, and verbal. I think your favorite was verbal. Like when you go into the locker room and someone says, "Oh, this smells really good," but you actually know that everyone just worked out and it smells very bad. Dramatic irony is a lot like when you're watching a film and nobody knows that there is a beast behind the character, but you see it, but the character doesn't, so that's considered dramatic irony. Situational irony is something that's not expected. Sometimes verbal irony is considered to be just sarcasm. However, it can also be saying something that you don't mean. For example, someone telling you, "I worry about your health," but in their mind, they wish you were dead. Okay, for the writing part, you must keep in mind that you will be graded on content and ideas, organization and form, and writing conventions. You have to have thought about the topic, have a clear main idea and thesis statement. The paper has to have a clear beginning, middle, and an end with introductory body and concluding paragraphs. It has to be logical and move in a straight line. The reader should be able to want to continue reading and understand the thesis and other main points fully. The student must use a variety of sentence lengths and types to add interest to the writing. Choose your vocabulary carefully and communicate clearly. Have cohesive devices to make the relationship between ideas clear. Avoid problems of sentence structure such as fragments, comma splices, run-on sentences, and lack of parallel structure and tenses. The student should also observe correct spelling rules, capitalization, and punctuation, among other things. Now, for the structure of an argumentative essay, you should make sure to follow the form as presented here. Have a hook, a background, and thesis in your introduction. And here is a sample essay on some technology. Today's social media provides worldwide connectivity at all times. Sites such as Facebook keep us in touch with those we cannot be with often or at all. No matter how you slice your cake, you can always connect with anyone else that is online. Wherever they are, next door or in a different country, you can easily contact anyone you'd like to. I'm never alone when I'm online. Technology is a hub of information and ideas. The television informs the viewers of both important and relative current events while also being a great source of entertainment. And the internet is by far the biggest source to find anything you would ever want to know. The web is where mostly all ideas are publicly posted for viewing. I have always believed that an ignorant person does not know what to believe or how to think for themselves. In this day and age, one has vast amounts of ideas to evaluate and choose from to influence their beliefs and life choices. Hobbies and interests are a click away. Social media can suit your own personal tastes. Any hobbies you have, you can discuss. Any interests you wish to pursue, you can learn about. Even the most obscure topics are covered on some deep corner of the web. There are tons of people out there who love the same things as you, and many people who are completely open to conversation. I can count the amount of offline friends I share my interests with on one hand, but I see thousands of people online daily that share my opinions. Social media is the gateway of confidence for shy and lonely individuals. You choose how to present yourself when you are online and you are able to express yourself freely. If you are lacking the social skills for face-to-face conversation, then you can try to start relationships online. Taking refuge behind a screen from time to revise messages could really help you clear your head and piece together a great conversation. Facebook has greatly improved my own social skills, and I would be far more alone now if it wasn't for it. Many are under the impression that today's technology is degrading social skills. While their impression is not completely unjustified, there are a few flaws in their argument. Firstly, social media does not replace face-to-face interaction time. It's merely a supplement. Regardless, you are still communicating with another person. Secondly, deep relationships can be made through a screen just as well as in person. Deeper connections could possibly be made when your keyboard provides no shame in admitting your deepest secrets. Lastly, if you value your online connections greater than the real world, then it is your choice where you want to spend your time building relationships. It's not a waste of time. You aren't alone or antisocial. You are connected to a different world entirely. I know I'll be living and working with the internet and the people using it most of my life, and I am happy to say that I won't be alone. Now, this essay, of course, is not my own. It's a student type. So I want you just to notice the hook, background, and thesis statement in the first paragraph. And if you can make it better, great. You can take ideas but make it better. So this is talking about constructive technology rather than destructive. As you noticed in the last paragraph, it's giving the opposite or opposing positions, claims, and refuting them. So this is very important that you do, so that if someone is arguing against you, you already, what do they say? You already had lunch with them before they had breakfast with you. Okay, it's like a translation of an Arabic quote. So you beat them to the punch, in other words, which is also an idiom. Okay? Now, best wishes. Best of luck for your exam. If you believe in yourself, you don't have to fear any challenge, and I wish you all the success for your exam. Study hard. Ask any questions you'd like through our mobile application or in class before the test, and make sure to watch this many times in order for you to get the little hints that I threw in there. Take care.